Nick Durant here with Tattoo University. Today I'm going to show you a couple of things I do while I'm setting up my station that will make it easier when you break down your station, and it'll keep things cleaner and a lot less complicated. I'm working on a glass countertop here. You can also use stainless steel. Whatever you're working on needs to be a non-porous surface. And that just means that nothing will soak into it. And you can use cleaners and everything to get all of the materials off, and nothing's going to be left behind. And I'm also using a dental bib, which before I've even started all this, I cleaned this whole area with germicidal solution. So here's a little money saving tip, is to buy a bottle of concentrated germicidal solution. And then you can mix several bottles yourself. You can get several bottles of solution out of this one bottle for about the same price. Because I was buying these and it was costing a lot of money. And the cheaper way to go was to buy the concentrated solution and mix it myself. So think about that. If you guys want to save some money, spend your money on important things like tattoo needles and other things, and save a little bit on your germicidal solutions. So I'm using a dental bib right here for my barrier. Even though I can clean this glass off, you don't want to put it right on the glass. And you can see this will kind of move around a little bit while you're working. So what I'm going to do is take a little blue tape here. And I'm going to tape down the edges, but before I tape down the edges, I'm going to take this piece of blue tape right here, and I'm going to fold it over so this part doesn't stick. It makes like a little tab. Rip that off and put that on the corner. Now what I have here is a little tab that I can grab and pull off when I'm cleaning up. When I'm breaking down my station, it makes it easier to grab a hold of that and take it off the table. Same thing to the rest of the corners here. Because when you're wearing gloves, sometimes it's a little harder to grab things, and you want to do things in a clean manner, in a sanitary manner. So with these little tabs on things, it's always easier just to grab them and pull them off. And I do this with my baggies for my tattoo machines. Anything that you need a little piece of tape to hold it, you can always add that little tab to it. Make sure it's easier to take off later on. Okay, now another pet peeve of mine is leaving stuff on the station, so I'm going to take all of this stuff and remove it from my station. We don't want this getting dirty if it doesn't have to. We don't want cross-contamination, so we're going to remove everything that doesn't belong on the tattoo station. Okay, I do not use green soap. I only use regular soap and water, and this is how I mix it. It should look very light. It's got a little tint to it, a little bit of color. And I take, this is the version you can get in the store. It's called Hibiclens, and this is what it looks like if it comes from the hospital. It's the same stuff that is used in the hospital, same solution, except for this is over the counter, and they use this before surgeries, and it's a surgical hand scrub and skin, wound, and general skin cleanser. So it cleans the skin, and it also is antibacterial. So if you're worried about bugs, this should do the trick. I also have clients clean their tattoo when they're finished with this solution right here. So I don't use a lot of alcohol. I don't use alcohol in my cleaner. I don't use alcohol when it's finished. The only time I use alcohol is right before I put the stencil on. So what I do is I just pour just a small amount of this in the water, or at the time it would be less water in there, and then I add some distilled water, and that's all I do. You don't need a lot of soap in there, just a little bit, just enough so you can feel with the water that it has a little bit of lubrication to it. Because this will also help you remove some of that excess tattoo ink while you're tattooing. Here's something I showed you before, I'll show you again. Doggy bags. Go buy some. You can get them in a roll at the dollar store for cheap. Pull one off, slide it over your soap, and get the nozzle in the corner and just pull that nozzle right through the baggie. It's not difficult. These baggies are just barrier protection. They're not really strong. They're just strong enough, and they just cover your bottle while you're working. Now here's the trick. You don't need rubber bands. You don't need tape. Just grab the end of this and twist it up like this. And then that will hold itself while you are tattooing. The only thing you need to be careful of is to make sure that you don't get any plastic stuck in your nozzle here. So you just want to check that once you've pulled it through. Just make sure nothing is on there. And that's how easy this is to cover up your bottles here. That's ready to go. So I also like to keep some witch hazel just in case my ink starts to dry out or I need to dilute some ink a little bit more, so I keep that out also. I don't mix any water, I don't dilute this because I don't want this to go bad or start growing germs or other bad things. So I just leave the witch hazel at 100%. I don't mix it. This is straight witch hazel. I'm going to use a clipcord cover to cover up my clipcords. I'm just going to take the heavy end of this and I'm going to drop it down into my clipcord bag. Because it's the heavier end, it's going to go all the way through without any problems. I'm just going to hold this and let that slide on through, and then once the clip cords get to the end here, I'm going to let them go into the bag like so, and then they can poke out the sides, and then I can fold this over and tape this. And again, put a little tab on it so when it's time to take it off, it's easier to come off. Tape that up. And then that's not going to go anywhere while I'm tattooing.